video is brought to you by Letsynthesize Academy, the #1 place for practice-oriented courses for serious music producers.
Hey, Dan Larsen here, welcome to the newest Synthesize Sunday episode, and in this episode I want to tweak Vital. If you didn't know, Vital is a free synth. It is very similar to Serum. If you want to grab it, you can download it from my description. And I made this halftime project with 5 other presets for Vital. You can find them on my Patreon, but right now, let's jump into it. Okay, so once again, Vital is a very nice synth. It has its ups and downs, and actually I found a few bugs, especially with the unison and the FM capabilities. But for a free synth, it's just very cool. And also it has some very nice new things that actually if Serum, for example, Serum does not have. So let me show you the sounds and you will see what I mean. So let's start with the drums. We have the main drums. It is actually very simple. As you can see, I'm using 2 kick layers. Now I didn't like this kind of thing because it is very housey. I mean, especially with the transient. So what I did is I chopped off the transient, I mean the half of that, around the half of that, and I applied a fade in. So basically with this, I decreased the transient that I didn't like. And I layered it up with an acoustic, an acoustic sounding kick drum transient. And the only thing I did here is I applied a high pass filter, but altogether, they're sounding a whole lot better, especially for halftime that uses more like acoustic sounding drums. And the snare, 2 snare sounds, layer is high passed. So nothing special, but altogether they sounded pretty well. Now this is the tops, very minimal and simple tops, and the shuffle. Okay, let's go further. We have a nice pad here. I'm not sure if you heard that in the intro when I played this whole groove, but it's a very nice pad. And how I did that, let me show it to you. It's actually a Max for Live device. So let me make a new audio track and go to Max for Live. And here's that grain freeze plugin. And actually it is a very smart plugin. So what it does, it chops up the audio into small pieces and you can apply different stuff on that. This is very cool to create pads. Almost reverby kind of pads, but for example, let's say one audio like this. Well, this is not the best, but actually we can use this up too. So if you play it, and if you click on ready, you can see that it automatically loaded this audio into the device. So as you can hear, it plays that little smart piece, and you can set the length of this audio with the grain. Now here comes the cool part, crank up the voices and add some spread to it. And this instantly turns this, basically this is a song, so very nice, very cool pad sound. So this is how this pad was born, but unfortunately I don't remember the source, so what audio I use for that. But it's very cool, and it's free again. We have vocal cut. And originally this is how it sounds. Plus I cranked up the transposition to +7. And after I cranked out the transposition, I applied echoes, reverbs, resonators to add a whole different flavor to it. So the first one is an auto filter, chop off the very lows, we don't need that. And the backdoor. It sounds almost like a chorus effect, but it is actually a lot more than that. I added a resonator to add tonality to this sound. And as you can see, I cranked up the note to G#1 because this is the key of our song. Then a reverb and another echo, but this time the hall mode preset. Okay, now let's go to the mighty basses in Vital. The first sound in Vital sounds like this. As you can see, I applied some heavy EQing here and a saturator. But on itself, from a free synth, this is really cool. Now let me show you what I did. It is again actually very simple. I applied a custom wavetable that looks like this. I modulated it, frequency modulated it with oscillator 2 on 2 octaves. So this is where you can set FM from oscillator 2. So this is set to about 25%. Now this synth is so cool because it is very similar to Serum, and let me give you a very quick overview. So here you can set the LFOs. We have 8 of them, but I use only 1 here. We have 3 envelopes and some other modulators like the random, the note, velocity and stuff like that. And here are the sound generators. And actually this is a very smart thing because you can use wavetables, you can use simple waveforms, and you can use one special tricky kind of thing that actually I have no idea what it does. So let me show it to you. If you drop one sound, so it like this one, you can set wavetable, vocode or pitch slice. I don't know what vocode is, I haven't tried it yet, but this is a custom wavetable here, and you can set the level of that, the panning, you can set the pitch, the fine tuning, and you can set where you want to route this thing, so to filter 1, filter 2, or both of them, to the effects or the direct out. And you can set here the transpose snap, so if you want to play it only on C, you can just click here and it's so cool. You can set unison voices, and actually this is my biggest problem with Vital. The unison voices just doesn't sound as you want, so I don't know, it's just very chaotic and it doesn't give a very nice result. I didn't really like that. You can tweak with the phases here. And the coolest part is this. So you can drop down and choose from sync, formant, quantized band. This is very similar to what you can find in Serum and FMs and ring modulators. But here you can choose from different stuff that they are very cool. Okay, so we don't have these in Serum, but you can experiment with them and this gives very cool result for this whole thing. So you can choose from vocode, formant, scale, stuff like that. And in this case, I didn't use anything because on itself a simple FM with distortion sounds really great. So what I did here is I only set the level with the LFO, as you can see, with some FM from oscillator 2. And the effects, I choose only the distortion and hard clip, a little reverb, an OTT, a comb filter. It doesn't give too much to the sound, but I love the possibility to add very nice comb filters after the sound. And an EQ. Now you can also click to Matrix where you can set all your modulation, and the Advanced tab where you can set other stuff. Okay, so after Vital, I apply this EQ to chop off at around 1.500 Hz. And at around 700 Hz. And I boost it at around 400 Hz. It adds some nice middle frequency presence to it. And a saturator. Okay, let's go to the next sound. Now let's talk about the process. I added an overdrive because I wanted to have a lot more middle frequency presence to this sound. Then some EQ to tame this sound at around 4.6K, and a little boost on the tops and on the lows, and a saturator, so it is very minimal, but without them it even sounds so cool and so aggressive. Okay, let's check the preset itself. Now this is a little more complex, so I used 2 LFOs here. The first one actually creates the sound itself with the modulations, and LFO 2 plays a little with the filter, so when I go whoa, 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 whoa. So this is what I use here to add some evolution to the wobble sound to it. And LFO 2 is responsible for that. So the first one is a basic shape, it's a square wave, but I chose inharmonic stretch. Yeah, I don't know what it does, but it adds a nice furry sound to it. I also applied FM from 2, oscillator 2, that is a simple saw wave, but I cranked up the unison to 3 voices, as you can see. And the detune is on 10%. And I also added another wavetable, and this is here only to color that sound a little more. So on itself it sounds crap, but altogether it adds a little more middle presence to it. That is, I think, very important. And the bandpass filter is again a very important part for that. But what I did here is I pulled back the mix with about 4 and 5% because I wanted to have a little more top end. Because I used a noise in the sample oscillator, or I don't know how to call it. And actually if I crank up to 100, it's a cool sound, but for me it's a little too clean. So this is why I pulled back the whole thing to about 96. And it's very, very rusty and evil. So I really like this sound. Let's go to the effects. I use a distortion, but after it, I use a low pass filter, as you can see here. Some EQing and a multi-band, so in OTT mode. So this is the whole sound from a free synth, come on. It's incredible. Okay, let's go to the third sound. So again, about the process, it's very similar, and I think what I did here is I just duplicated this space and I added a few tweaks to the sound. So this EQ dot plays a very, very important role to have a little more talky effect or something like that. Okay, the overdrive again adds middle presence to it. Now the reason why you hear that this sound without the EQ is very clean, but with the EQ it is very distorted, is not because EQ8 contains a distortion. It is simply because this little peak here, okay? So what it does is basically boost that very frequency very heavily. So as you can see, it's more than 15 decibels, and the saturator after that reacts to it very well, so creates lots of upper harmonics, and this is why you hear that it is distorted, and actually it is distorted because of this little peak here. So because this peak is very aggressive and very loud, the distortion, the saturator reacts to it like to almost every loud sound and adds a huge amount of overtones to it. Okay, so let's check the preset itself. I have a simple sine, frequency modulated with a saw on 12, so on 1 octave higher, with some FM modulation from oscillator 2, and the performance scale warping mode or unison warping mode. I don't know what it is, but it's so cool. Okay, and also added a noise in the sample oscillator. As again a very distorted kind of feel to it, with this bandpass filter, or well, it's not bandpass, it's analog notch spread with the drive cranked up. And LE41 modulates a few parameters here, so the filter cutoff and the level of oscillator 1. Let's go to the effects. We have a distortion like always, soft clip mode and post low pass filter mode with an EQ, and the phaser as you can hear. These EQs, well, phaser behaves like an EQ, so it chops, it creates notches in the spectrum. All together with the EQ, really creates a sound. So I think it is very, very cool from a free synth again. And there is one more ingredient, and these are my neuro glitches that I made several months ago and gave out for free. If you want to download them, just click here, here, here. And all together with the basses. And I've done nothing to it basically by just some reverb and a saturator, and this is all here. Okay, so if you want to download this project with 5 other presets for Vital, just check the description for my Patreon and check my academy if you want to dig deeper into production. I was Larson, and see you guys next time. Peace!